Alright, Five Nights at Freddy's fans, this is the moment that you have all been waiting for. Has been the most anticipated film of the year for you if you are a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's. But is the anticipation worth waiting for? Alrighty, so we finally got Five Nights at Freddy's in theaters and on Peacock, and has been a movie that Five Nights at Freddy's fans have been waiting for. Now, I know very little about the game. I think I've played it once or twice, maybe. I know for sure I have not played it in the last 7 years, so this is a movie that I have been really interested in. So Josh Hutcherson plays Mike, a troubled security guard who begins working at Freddy's Fazbear's Pizzeria. During his first night on the job, he realizes that the night shift won't be so easy to get through. Pretty soon, he will unveil what's actually happening at Freddy's. I know very little about the game, and I know fans of this game have been really anticipating this movie to become a film. We got a ripoff a couple of years ago during the pandemic with Willy's Wonderland, a movie that I didn't think was all that great, but you know what? It served its purpose. I thought it was decently fun. You have Nick Cage that doesn't say anything, and with Five Nights at Freddy's, the trailers really intrigued me. Josh Hutcherson is somebody that I thought would have blown up by now, but I guess there's no roles for Short Kings. This is the first time that he has been leading a project in a long while. Plus, you also have Matthew Lillard in here for a small bit. And leading up to the release of this film, I was really pessimistic because they released the news that it was going to be streaming on Peacock the same day as it was going to be in theaters. And the last time they did that was with Halloween Ends, and we all know how that turned out. Well, let's go ahead and get started with a couple of the positives that I really enjoyed. I really love the relationship between Mike and Abby. I thought that relationship was built up very well. The relationship between Piper Rubio and Josh Hutcherson worked. I like the chemistry. I love that he is a caring brother, and that is always going to be a big positive on my side. I really like the interaction, and we all have those siblings that won't listen to us when we call for them when they need to go down for dinner, or if we ever need them. So that relationship right there is something that really held my interest, something that I really enjoyed, that was developed very well. You also have the animatronics here that were brought to life by the Jim Henson Company, and I thought that animatronic work was done pretty well. You do feel that creepiness whenever they pop out, either in the shadows or they're just up on stage. The way that they move, I thought it all worked together very well, and those were the moments where I was really intrigued by these things, because I think the way that they look, I thought it had a level of creepiness that would have creeped me out if I was working at Freddy's Fazbear's Pizzeria at night. I thought the way that they moved looked really nice, and especially when it came down to the kills, while it is a tamed down PG-13 version of what we could have gotten, I thought it pushed the limits as far as it possibly could have. I do feel a sense of claustrophobia when it comes down to them rampaging, because they could be at any single corner, and I know how they move a little bit from the game, and I thought that was translated pretty well onto the big screen. And I thought everything that went down with the animatronics, with Freddy, with Chica, with everybody, I thought those were the moments when the movie absolutely worked for me. However, this movie spends so much time on backstory and flashbacks to what happens to Mike in the past that I thought worked for the first time that we see it. I thought it was intriguing enough, and it does build a little bit more on the lore. However, we keep flashing back to that every now and then, and that is when the movie lost my attention, because we flash back to it so many times that it becomes more of an expedition dump, and it doesn't really leave the mystery for those that aren't big fans of the game. And it just felt like they were just holding our hand and telling us everything that was going on, giving us the backstory, and that's probably going to please a lot of FNAF fans. If you don't know anything about this game, or if you're just a casual watcher that just wants to go in to be entertained, I'm not sure how that is going to feel for you, because I feel like when this movie was working for me was when we had a little bit more mystery of what this place is, what's actually going on. Why are these animatronics coming back to life? Those were the moments when this movie worked for me, but whenever we came back to the flashbacks, it just felt so repetitive that it just lost my interest, and it felt like they were trying to pad out the runtime. Plus, you also have a little side story between Mike and his aunt that I was just not interested at all. And I don't think the dialogue is as bad as probably a lot of people will make it out to be. I thought it was decent enough. It got me by. I was entertained by it. But there were some moments in here, especially when it came down to the aunt, that I was just not a fan of. Whenever she popped up on screen, I just wanted her to go away because she was just annoying the living shit out of me. And that was when the movie kept losing my interest, because you have such a great dynamic between Mike and Abby that I was really getting on board on. Plus you also throw in on Plus, you also throw in this little side story that I just did not give a shit about. That is where it started to lose my interest a little bit more. And while I really enjoy the animatronic, I love it whenever they popped up, and I loved it whenever they started killing people. However, we don't get a lot of them. And that is where the disappointing factor for me comes in, because I wanted to see them in full action a little bit more. I wanted to see what they were able to do. And while it is tamed PG-13, there are a couple of moments while it's hidden in the shadows. I was surprised that it went a little bit farther than I was really expecting, because there's a moment in this movie that really caught me by surprise. And even though it is just in the shadows, they don't show anything. I was really surprised that they took it that far, because I don't think I've seen that kind of death in a PG-13 movie, at least not to my knowledge. And that is what I wanted a little bit more of. I wanted to see these animatronics kill a little bit more people and maybe have a little bit more fun. But we're relegated to cheap jump scares that don't work, that we've seen so many times. Plus they go back to this recurring joke with this little toy that the first time they showed it, it worked fine, but they just keep going back to it and back to it and back to it, and that is just where it just kept felt that is just where it felt a little bit more repetitive, and it just felt like they were trying to pad the runtime. Some of the humor in this movie worked for me, other times it doesn't. Plus it also does feel like it is a family friendly type of movie, because that is exactly what they're going for. It works for me enough to where I can say that I was entertained by this movie. I didn't hate it as much as probably a lot of people do. If you're a fan of this game, I'm not sure how this is going to hit for you, because there are moments in this movie that absolutely worked for me and I was really enjoying my time, and there were other moments in this movie where it just felt like they were just padding the runtime just so it can make it a little bit longer, when you could have shaved down 20 minutes, kept it to the animatronics, kept it to the relationship between Mike and Abby, and seeing them go through this. That is just when the movie started to fail for me. But overall, I'm going to go ahead and give Five Nights at Freddy's a 5 out of 10. I don't think this movie is perfect. I think there are a lot of issues with this movie. However, I was really entertained by this movie. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. There are better video game movie adaptations out there. One that I really enjoyed, Tomb Raider, and to a degree the Super Mario Brothers movies. But this movie was okay. This is a fun time if you just stream it on Peacock, which is what they're doing, which I think is idiotic. But if you want to go out with your friends for Halloween weekend or on Halloween, you can't go wrong with Five Nights at Freddy's, because I think it is an entertaining time. If you're not a fan of the games, if you're just going in just to be entertained, you're going to be entertained, and you're not going to pick out what things work for you and what things don't. You're just going to enjoy it just because it's going to entertain you. But if you're a hardcore fan of this game, I'm not sure how it's going to hit you. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think about Five Nights at Freddy's. Did you enjoy it? Did it let you down? Go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comments below, because I am really interested to see what Five Nights at Freddy's fans are going to think about this movie. And if you like this video, go ahead and click that like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on more. Click that bell notification so you get notified every single time that a video pops up. And I hope you guys have a fun and safe Halloween weekend.